My name is Mike Harris. People often talk about war in numbers, how many battles, how many objectives captured, but when you're standing in the middle of it, what you see before your eyes is only devastation. A ruined city, houses blackened by fire, the cries of civilians blending with the groans of both our soldiers and the enemy. There is no friend or foe anymore, only bodies lying together in the dust. I had grown used to death, but some nights I realized my fallen comrades, those who had already gone, were still walking beside us, silently warning us of traps, of dangers ahead, as if they were still marching with us, only in a different form. We marched through a desolate village, once a fierce battlefield. Just days earlier, the roofs of burned houses were still smoldering, smoke drifting in the wind, along with the stench of rusted steel and ashes. In that heavy air, the smell of gunpowder mixed with the acrid stench of burned flesh made my stomach twist with nausea. The ground was pockmarked with bomb craters, fields torn apart as if by a nightmare. Burned-out armored vehicles lay scattered, but more haunting than that were the bodies of civilians. I saw white cloths hastily covering a family still clinging to one another, their faces twisted in their final terror. By the village well, an old man had collapsed, his thin hand still clutching a bamboo cane, and by the ruins of a collapsed porch lay the small figure of a child, motionless, eyes wide open, as if still unable to grasp what had happened. The silence was suffocating, eerie. The children who once played here, the elders who once sat by their porches, now only broken walls remained, and the sound of the wind whistling through cracked bricks. War left nothing behind but ashes and scars. After leaving the village, we were ordered to assault an enemy base deep in the forest. The air was thick with the stench of blood and gunpowder. Every step was heavy, for none of us knew where death might be waiting. I was about to step onto a narrow trail winding through thick underbrush. The ground there was strangely dry and level, an ideal path for us to advance quickly toward the enemy's stronghold. Because of that, I foolishly thought it was the safest way. But then Ramirez appeared out of nowhere, his face tense with fear. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "Mike, don't! There's something under the ground." I froze, my heart dropping into my chest. Looking down, I saw, right beneath the tip of my boot, a landmine. It had been cleverly buried under fresh soil covered with leaves and dirt to blend with the path. If not for Ramirez, I would have been blown apart instantly. The trail that seemed like a perfect way in had been a deadly trap waiting for us. I spun around and shouted to the others, "Mine! Don't step onto this trail." My voice made the whole squad halt at once. Eyes darted to the ground, tense and fearful, before quickly shifting to another route. No one asked questions. Everyone knew that a single careless step could mean death. I turned back, ready to thank Ramirez. But he was gone, vanished silently, so quickly I barely realized he had been there at all. I glanced around. The other soldiers were still moving forward, focused on the mission, seemingly unaware that Ramirez had just stood among us. A chilling thought crept into my mind. Where had he gone? But there was no time to dwell on it. The mission pressed on, and the squad had to move, our minds fixed on the battle ahead. Only I marched on, shaken, with a vague dread gnawing inside me that something was not right. We circled around and launched the assault on the enemy base. The battle ended in victory, but at a terrible cost. Many brothers fell, blood soaking into the earth. Victory never came with joy. After the fight, As the smoke still lingered, we tended to the wounded and counted our numbers. Exhaustion weighed on every face. It was then Johnson came to me, his face heavy, holding a report from another unit. His voice was hoarse. "Mike, Ramirez is gone. He was killed yesterday during the attack before we set out. He threw himself in front of enemy fire to save me." I froze, unable to believe my ears. The words hammered into my skull. Ramirez had died yesterday? Trembling, I told Johnson what had happened, how Ramirez had appeared, pulled me away from the mine, then vanished in an instant. I told him I had called out, seen him clearly. It was no mistake. But Johnson only looked at me, eyes filled with grief and disbelief. Slowly, he shook his head. "It's impossible, Mike. Ramirez couldn't have been there." A chill spread down my spine. Then, who had pulled me back last night? Was it truly Ramirez, or only a fragment of his lingering soul? I looked at Johnson, his eyes red with tears. In life, Ramirez had saved him with his own body, and after death, he had returned to save me from the same fate. I don't know what it was, a ghost, a vision, or simply the bond of brotherhood that transcends life and death. I only know that deep within me, I whispered my thanks to Ramirez, the brother who never abandoned us, whether alive or as a spirit wandering the battlefield.